From KVUE News in Austin, you're watching Texas This Week with Ashley Goodo.
Good Sunday morning. Texas's top leaders proposing new legislation to essentially tie the hands of cities that defund their police departments. That's where we'll start with the three things you need to know in Texas politics. Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Speaker of the House Dennis Bonnen, and several state lawmakers held a news conference in Fort Worth Tuesday to introduce the idea. They're backing legislation to freeze property tax revenue for any Texas city that decreases funding to its police department in response to the new budget passed by the Austin City Council that cuts and reallocates up to $150 million from APD. This means cities like Austin wouldn't be able to collect a greater amount of money in property taxes than what is currently collected at the time they make the funding cuts. Those state leaders say cities shouldn't be able to get more money from residents that they've endangered. Austin Mayor Steve Adler criticized the plan, saying the governor is just spreading fear and misinformation about what the council passed. Austin's new budget goes into effect October 1st. Meanwhile, the legislature isn't set to meet until January 2021. Lawmakers and candidates across the country held events at post offices this week to protest changes happening to the agency that are leading to major delays. The executive vice president of the Postal Service sent letters to secretaries of state across the U.S., including the Texas SOS, warning mail-in ballots could be delayed and ultimately voters disenfranchised. History was made during the Democratic National Convention this week. California Senator Kamala Harris became the first black woman nominated to run for vice president for the Democratic or Republican parties. The virtual convention featured a wide range of speakers, from former presidents to rising stars in the party to everyday folks. And a few surprises: Republicans criticizing President Donald Trump and calling on their fellow Americans not to vote for him in November. And as we look to November 2020, voters will make a lot of important decisions down the ballot as well. Republican U.S. Representative Mike Conaway is leaving the House after 8 terms of representing District 11. This district stretches from Llano County in central Texas all the way to Midland in the west and Stephenville in the east. Voters will decide between Democrat Attorney Jon Mark Hogg and Republican combat veteran Colonel August Pfluger. This morning, we're talking with Mr. Hogg. First, tell our viewers a little bit about your background and why it is you're running for Congress.
Well, my family's originally from Southeast Texas. I was born in Tyler, but my parents were Baptist missionaries. So I spent my childhood in Trinidad and Tobago. We ultimately ended up in El Paso, where I graduated high school, living on the border there, and then went to Baylor, St. Mary's Law School. I married a girl from San Angelo, and she was fortunate enough that I got a job offer when I got out of law school in San Angelo. So we've been here for the last 28 years, raised 2 great kids. My wife works at the Central High School Library in San Angelo, and I've just been practicing law in Texas 11 for the last 28 years, just all over the area.
Tell us what made you decide to run for Congress.
Well, there's a lot of things, but primarily because of the type of the tone and the tenor of politics and the ugliness that has gone on, not just during the last 3.5 years, but even longer than that. I just sensed that there was a voice out there for people that were, what I heard was frustration. And I also felt that our area had not received adequate representation for quite a long time. I thought that the representation that we were getting was focused primarily on addressing and talking about national political issues and not the issues that really matter to the people in District 11, such as, affordable health care, the crisis of closures of hospitals, and the rural health care crisis, education, jobs, those sorts of things, the kitchen table issues. And I also wanted to just bring, I think, a sense of restoring some focus to be on the common people, the common folk, and just try to help bring back some sense of common sense and common decency into government.
District 11 has been represented by Republican Congressman Mike Conaway since 2005. So what makes you think that you can flip the seat and that the people of District 11 are ready for a Democrat?
Well, I think there's more Democrats out here than people realize. What people mistakenly think of is as a Republican district, I think to a large extent is a district that not had choices, has not had the opportunity. And as we see with most races, if there's not Democrats running in local races, people are voting in the Republican primaries to have a say in who's county sheriff and those sorts of things. I think the realistic thing this year is all bets are off. This is 2020. This is not like any other political year. All the political assumptions that we have approached do not apply this year, in my opinion. I think we're going to see a lot of interesting things happen, and I don't think anyone can predict what is going to happen in Texas, what's going to happen in the United States, or what's going to happen in District 11. The other fact is I've been here for 28 years. My opponent grew up here, ironically lived right next door to me for a short time when we first moved to San Angelo. But he's gone on, and I applaud him for his military career, but he has not been here. He has come back to try to run for this seat from Washington. I have been here, and I know this district well. I have represented and have clients and friends and cases all over this district in almost all the 29 counties of this district. I know this district. And so I think that is a huge advantage, and I think it makes a difference in the kind of person that you are, and it makes a difference in the kind of race that you run, and it makes a difference that I already know this district. I don't have to learn it starting now.
Now, if you are elected to Congress, what would be your top priority?
My top priority for sure is health care affordability and the crisis in the closures of our rural hospitals across the state. We have the highest rate. We have lost 26 rural hospitals in the state of Texas in the last 10 years, and that goes along with a huge crisis across the country nationally. I want to focus on rural health care, and I also want to focus on making health care affordable because both of those go hand in hand. As far as a local issue, one thing that I'm particularly concerned about is the plan which has been supported by Representative Conaway, which is supported by my opponent, and many other Republican officials in this district, is to bring in highly radioactive nuclear waste from 100 nuclear power plants across the country to store it in District 11. I'm speaking up for the people of the Permian Basin and West Texas in that, and so that also will be a priority, but those would be my first two.
I want you to share with our viewers some final thoughts about why they should elect you this November.
Well, the reason I think they should elect me is because I'm the most qualified. I have been in this district for 28 years. I have practiced law in this district and all the courts of this district and all through the state of Texas for 28 years. I have lived here. I've gone to church here. I've been a part of organizations in this district. I have friends and cases and clients all over this district, in every county in this district. My district includes Midland, Odessa, and San Angelo, of course. We have focused. I am the only one who's actually spent time representing the interests of oil and gas, representing the interests of farmers and ranchers, and even representing the interests of green energy companies. I'm the only one who has served in an elected office in this race. I served on the San Angelo City Council and also served a temporary time as mayor after our mayor had resigned. I have represented governments and cities and counties and dealt with state governments all over the state of Texas throughout my career. And I think that is the kind of experience as far as both a lawyer, as far as a mediator, and also an elected official and a public servant. I understand what it takes to do that, and I'm ready for that challenge.
You can learn more about Mr. Hogg's campaign at KVUE.com. You have until October 5th to register to vote. Early voting is set to run from October 13th through the 30th, and Election Day is November 3rd. That's Texas This Week.